Okay, brilliant. Right. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Darius. Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me about your experience of Charity People's mentoring scheme, which we piloted last March. I can't believe it was last March already. To recap, the scheme was specifically set up to support brand new chief execs who had been in their post for less than 18 months and aspiring chief execs. Essentially, they would be part of a senior leadership team, and really their next role would be that of becoming a chief exec. So that was who the scheme was aimed at. And really, I think from certainly talking to you, Vicky, initially, this has been a resounding success. And Vicky and Darius are here today to tell us a little bit more about their experiences. So just as a quick intro, Vicky is the Chief Executive Officer at Tower Hamlets Council for Voluntary Service, and Darius is the Director at Confetti Institute of Creative Technology for London. So, Vicky and Darius, maybe we can start by giving a bit of background information in terms of the posts that you held when we piloted the scheme. Vicky, would you like to go first?
Yes, so I was head of operations at a neighbouring CVS, at Hackney CVS, and I had been thinking about my career and what I wanted to do. And I had identified that I'd like to be a CEO. And just as the mentoring scheme started, I was offered an interim director role at Hackney CVS, and then took part in this mentoring scheme. So
brilliant.
Yeah, it's quite clearly been successful.
That's great. Thank you so much, Vicky. And Darius, give us a quick kind of intro to you in terms of your background.
So at the point that I was approached to do this for Charity People, I was the chief executive of a charity, or sort of two charities actually, in Belsize Park called WAC Arts and the Hamden Trust, which basically manage and own the Old Town Hall, which is perhaps at Old Town Hall. Prior to that, I was chief executive of a sort of specialist university college for music and other creative things called London Centre for Contemporary Music, which morphed into London College of Creative Media. So I've been sort of chief exec in, creative arts, education organisations since about 2014, and I've been in the leadership of those sorts of things for a lot longer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Darius. And Vicky, how did you learn about this mentoring scheme?
Well, first of all, Tiku, I had some talks with you through another role that I went for, and you were one of the most supportive recruitment consultants that I've ever met, and I was quite taken aback by how fabulously you did your job. And then I saw on LinkedIn about this mentoring scheme, and it struck a bell, and I thought that's the thing for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. That's always nice to hear that you're doing your job well. So that's what it's all about, right? And what attracted you to apply to be a mentee, Vicky?
I think I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that I needed to develop something in order to be able to do it, and I wasn't really sure exactly what I needed to develop. So I thought I'd put myself out there, and see what happened. And for me, it was quite a terrifying experience. I'm sorry, Darius, but it was. I think when I started, as I said, it was just terrifying. But what turned out was that it was incredibly good for building my confidence. So, and that's actually turned out to be the most important thing, I think.
Brilliant, brilliant. And Darius, I can't thank you enough for, giving the time that you've given so generously, to the pilot, and also agreeing to be a mentor in our 2023 program. What attracted you, Darius, to being a mentor? Because it's quite a kind of commitment, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was very honoured to be asked. I mean, I think two basic things. One is it does have an element of focusing on trying to address the long-standing sort of underrepresentation of people from, ethnic backgrounds, whatever, or underrepresented people in senior leadership. And it's an area that I've been interested in and focused on and irritated by for, many, many years. So to have some, to have some positive impact onto that, obviously, is right up my street, something I'm very interested in, keen to devote time and energy to. And then I think more broadly, I have been lucky enough, I suppose, to have had some very informal mentoring, coaching. There's a fine line. I think I understand the difference, but there's a fine line in my view between the two things. And particularly when I got my first actual chief exec role, which was to be promoted over a business partner who in a way was a more influential person than me. But so I was promoted over him to be the chief exec of a thing we co-founded. And that was a very contentious sort of period. And so I remember a good friend saying, it is very lonely at the top. Surround yourself by other people who have been there before or are there, but are external to you, because you can just go and talk to them. And it's informal, but you will find that really helpful. And he did that for me. And then I've sort of followed his words of advice and maintained and retained a few contacts like that in completely different sectors. But the interesting thing is when you are sort of running something, whether it's a £1 million business to 100 million or even a billion, actually the commonality, the core issues are actually the same, mostly around people, mostly around purpose and things like that, and management and things. So I'm interested in it, and I think it actually helps me keep my own skills sharp and makes me a better leader, actually, by helping up people coming up. You learn as much as you impart, really.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And actually what you said, it is lonely at the top. It's a phrase that I've heard often enough, talking to chief execs. And I think that's also one of the reasons why this scheme was so popular. I mean, we were oversubscribed for mentees, when we did the pilot. And I think, when we go live again just after Easter, it will be really interesting to see how, that uptake goes. But thank you, Darius. That was really insightful. Vicky, do you, in terms of kind of like, I guess, your experience with Darius and, what you've benefited from as a direct result of the time that you've spent with Darius, do you want to maybe share a little bit about that? And also, don't hold back, because we want to see Darius blush.
Well, the 6 months that we spent in this relationship was transformational, I think. And we talked a lot about getting clarity, so kind of cutting through, when you're running an organization, there's so many different things happening and issues that require your time, but cutting through that chatter and understanding the most important things and on what that is, and having a focus on your purpose and how that informs the rest of your work. And we talked a lot about that, and that has stood me in really good stead in this new job, because that's exactly what I need, is that ability to step back and think strategically with that absolute clarity. And it's been fantastic. And I think just for me, the process of having somebody with that level of experience that I can talk to, I could hear myself speaking out loud, and it was as though I could almost hear the learning happening in those sessions. It was really powerful.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And Darius, I guess, similarly, to tell us a little bit more about kind of your experience. I know you said you benefited and in terms of kind of, making your skills or keeping you sharp, if you like. But is there anything else that you might want to share with us regarding the time that you spent with Vicky?
Well, I think God, it was the first time I've done the mentoring. So actually, I was probably as nervous as Vicky was, frankly, and I treated it very much like just, this is a colleague. I'm gonna listen and actually encourage Vicky to talk, and actually from that, then there were maybe some questions that I would ask that I was hoping would make her think about things. But it was very much a sort of two-way, and then sometimes when I could give a relevant actual example to keep things very practical, because I was very keen that, I was not going to sort of talk and use buzzwords as if I am the font of all wisdom, because it just isn't like that. We're actually all guessing, and you just make better educated guesses as you go. But, and so I found it just really, in a way, helpful to hear Vicky talk about problems, some of which were similar things that I had solved. So in a way, it allowed me to, I think I had to improve as an active listener, actually, so that I could, be useful to Vicky. And so so I think that it's helped my active listening, and I think that I hope I allowed her really to talk things out, and in so doing, you start to sort of think about fixing them, and then where I could say something that would help her, see what the answer is. I could do that, and we made it up as we went along, and it was obviously a roaring success. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Vicky, do you want to sort of tell everybody how that has helped you to, I guess, get to where you are today?
Well, I mean, it's a really clear connection, but it enabled me. I mean, it helped with the interview process. It helped with starting my new job. That clarity of purpose and strategic thinking has been really amazing. And I think we did really. It was a very free form conversation, but that really worked for me, and I was able to talk about the most difficult things that I was struggling with during those conversations. So I credit it with getting me where I wanted to be.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Vicky, what advice would you give to anyone considering applying to be a mentee in our next round of cohorts?
Yeah, so obviously I think it's a really great scheme. If you have anyone like Darius, you'll get a lot out of it. I suppose in terms of advice, I think you have your mentor can't do everything for you, can't do anything for you. You have to be proactive, and you have to be prepared to set aside your preconceptions and be as open-minded as possible, because they have this experience and they have these skills, and if you're going to learn from that, you're going to have to kind of seriously consider what they say, and that will be mind altering, well, maybe not mind altering, but that will have the influence that's exciting.
Brilliant, thank you. And Darius, the same question to you, really. What advice would you give to a future mentee?
Well, I totally echo what Vicky has just said in terms of being open-minded, and she's, it is not teaching, it's not anything like that, and but I will be very practical. So whoever does get me, it'll be practical, very, concrete, constructive. It won't be airy-fairy language about anything. So, I'm not that person. And I think A, be open-minded, and B, as Vicky said, the more you come with tangible questions, problems, thought, this is what I would like to, this is what's going on, this is how I think I need to deal with it. What do you think? I will be really good at responding. And that's the role. It's not for me to sort of lead in any way, because I don't know what you're dealing with. So you need to come really well prepared and on it, and then I'm getting called away. I've got to, and then I can really respond and help you.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Darius. Thank you so much, Vicky. It's been really, really useful. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. We can
Thanks,
stop
Tiku.
recording now.
Bye.